your self-loathing. You've owned the voices inside of your head. You've owned the shame and reproach of your failure. It's time to own your belovedness. You've owned your past and how it's defined you. You've owned everything everybody else says. It's time to hear what your Father has spoken. It's time to own your belovedness. He says you must. I smiled when I made you. I find you beautiful in every way. My love for you is fierce and unending. I'll come to find you, whatever it takes, my beloved.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christabel Christopher, and I'll be your host for this session. I want to quickly say thank you to the ATQ community, 360 Connect, and Coach Stella for the opportunity to be your host for this session. I would like you to click on the share button and share on all your socials, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us if you're joining on Facebook. The last session was amazing. It was fun. It was taken by Reverend Wisdom. Sorry. So please, our audience, can you just share one word that describes the session that was yesterday by sharing an emoji on the comment section. All right. So we are going to talk about the ATQ conference. This No Conference is brought to you by answering tough questions from children and teens, known as ATQ for short. We are growing community of parents, careers, and trusted safe adults with our presence on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. Our main objective is to ensure that children and teenagers get the right, correct, and appropriate answers to their questions, and to ensure that parents, careers, and safe, trusted adults are equipped to give the right answers and have meaningful conversations. This we achieve through our monthly webinar, How We Do It, that is HWDI for short, where we learn and share our monthly book reviews and offering answers, suggestions, and solutions to questions sent to the community. Kindly click on the links and join our community today. God bless you. You can join our community today by clicking on the link displayed in the comment section. Thank you. So let us take a quick review from one of our members. So you can see the link.
You've owned your fear and all your self-loathing.
Welcome back.
Sophie Gossi from Bayelsa State. I joined ATQ late 2022 through a friend who sent the link to me. We work together with children and teenagers, so we get really enthusiastic when it got to that. But for that 2022, we're just beginning to discover our need to know more, to be better mothers to our children. We realized that we lacked much required knowledge, and so we began making a search. So when she saw this, she quickly sent to me, and boom, I didn't waste time. I joined. Since I joined ATQ, it has been awesome. I've been a better mother. Every month, we're made to read a book that exposes what my children are like. And I can't tell you, it has been awesome working with my children. I used to think then that I knew much, I was a disciplinarian and all that, but when I began to read and to hear teachings and some of the questions that are being handled, trainings in the board, I said to myself, where have I been all these years? And ever since, it has been a blessing. Now, ATQ also led me into the reading the Bible in 4 months. As a Christian, I've always battled with completing the Bible. But since I started, I think December, I joined November. I joined ATQ in November 2022. And they were on in the last 4 months. So it was the New Testament. It was amazing that I went through reading the New Testament in 1 month. Ha! It looked like, wow. So I continued. I've been reading the Bible with them, the whole Bible all through. Then I think still that late December, there was now a link in the group, on the ATQ group, of young Christian ladies who want to find purpose, who want to fulfill purpose, who want to achieve great things, called the Accelerate Ladies. It was an answer to prayer. I joined. And from the Accelerate Ladies, I have sisters all around, a place you can just share all of your cares and all of your burdens, and you have ready ears and ready hands to support you all the way. That has been my journey in this 360 Connect space, and it has been awesome. Even in my ministry as a children teacher, because I just took over the children church because our pastor then was relocating, and I was wondering how was I going to cope? How am I going to do this with all these children? But daily, with the teachings, with the insights, with the books, even the children church is flowing beautifully, beautifully. I'm able to connect with the children. I can understand how they are going. I don't have to be that harsh and hard that it used to be. And they're enjoying me. Not too long ago, a child wrote a note to me, just telling me thank you. And I'm wondering, could have done this. Knowledge. So that's how my ATQ journey has been. It has been awesome. Is it the reading of books? Before then, it wasn't possible for me to read. How can I say I read the book a month? It was almost impossible over the years. But through it, I read a book a month. I read in the ATQ, I read the Bible. My life is different. Very, very different. And I'm grateful to Coach Stella. She has been so warm, ever ready to reach out to you, to encourage, and her words are very encouraging. Thank you, Ma. Thank you for ATQ. Thank you for all the team. I know she's not working alone. God bless you all. You can't imagine what you are doing in the lives of families. And I thank you. God will strengthen you. The Lord will help you. Thank you. If you are not here, you just joined us in this conference. Well, just wait. What you see will amaze you. And just know that God has led you to where He wants to bless you and bless your family. Thank you. We welcome you.
So welcome back. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Mrs. Enimien? We welcome you to the No Conference 2024. We are super excited to have you join us for this session. We can't wait to learn all you have to share with us. But before we dive in fully to your session, let's listen to your biography.
Enimien Orubebor is a wife and a mother of 3 global leaders who she works daily to raise aright. She is a psychologist by training, a parenting coach, and children etiquette coach. She is the founder of Beyond Etiquette, where she is the lead trainer. www.beyondetiquette.com.ng. Beyond Etiquette is an organization that provides life skill training on such matters as manners, characters, sexuality education, leadership, and so on, to school-age children. Also, she trains adults who want to take up manners and etiquette training as a career. She also hosts a subscription community called Parenting Accountability Community. She is an author of children's books as well as books for parents. welcome Mrs. Orubebor as she speaks on the topic, the person in the mirror, being emotionally intelligent.
All right, welcome, ma'am. So let's have our speaker on the floor. Good afternoon, ma. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Christabel. How? Can you hear me? I said good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma, and welcome to No
You can't hear
Conference
me.
2024, ma. We are excited to have you on this session. Hello, ma. Your mic is muted, ma.
No, ma'am. You can.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hello, Christabel. How are you doing? Hello, Christabel. How are you doing? Can you hear me, Christabel?
Hello, good afternoon, ma.
Hold on. Good to have you as our moderator today. While we wait for her to fix her sound, I'd like you to just go and share, click on the like button, and invite everyone who needs to come and listen about being emotionally intelligent. So, yeah, hopefully she'll be back in the next few seconds and we are off and off. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to No Conference. Yesterday was powerful, and today also will be. Today will also be powerful. I know that for sure by the grace of God. So yes, we're waiting for her to get her network and sound fixed, and she will be back again right here on
Please.
stage. So yeah, if you're here, I'd like to hear from you. All right, she's here. All right, she's
Can you
here.
hear me,
Welcome back.
please?
Yes, ma, I can hear you
Thank you,
clearly.
ma. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
ma, clearly I can
fantastic.
hear you.
Because my mic
Yes.
wasn't muted. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Christabel. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Coach Stella. Thank you for the amazing work you are doing. I personally appreciate you, and my son appreciates you too a great deal. The class you had with them on Joseph and his lifestyle was amazing. You should really consider making it monthly, ma. Please, for me and for my kids. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you. Okay. So I am going to be talking on being emotionally intelligent. Being emotionally intelligent. I'm a parent coach and I also work with children. So I expect to talk, or maybe I'm expected to talk on parenting when it comes to emotions in parenting. However, I want to look at it, look at the topic, look at the theme of the conference, the person in the mirror, because at the end of our children actually looking at us. They copy us. They copy our lifestyle. One of the things I always say to parents is that your lifestyle becomes your child's standard. If they don't unlearn certain, your lifestyle is likely going to become their standard. So one of the very first things we want to do when it comes to parenting is I want to look at ourselves. Look at yourself. I want to look at myself. I want to look at ourselves. Now, it is why my topic today is going to be focused on us adults, parents, teachers, caregivers, all of us, and then maybe a bit of parenting too. Now, one of the very things I do with my children, because I always want to focus, I want to look at myself, is I do what I call freestyle. Once in a while, I just let them be. I leave them alone. I leave them alone. They do their thing. I can just be in my room. They can be there playing. I'm hearing what they are saying. I'm watching what they are doing. I see what they are doing. I see what they are saying, how they respond to issues. And at the end of the day, I sit back and ask myself, okay, which of these things, which of the behaviors that these children exhibited is actually from me. Which of them am I modeling? Which of them am I kind of reinforcing? Which of them am I saying thumbs up to, whether I know it or I don't know it? Because the truth of the matter is, if we are reflective parents, we always know when our children are copying from us. As when I now get the ones they've copied from me that is something I'm frowning about or frowning against, we come up with something like challenge. Okay, we have the no silent treatment challenge, no sarcasm challenge, no using I don't know challenge, and all of that. What I'm trying to say is, when we sit back and reflect, we always realize that we are mirroring a lot of these to our children. So what we are doing today, what I'm focusing on today, is you as a parent, you as an adult, working on yourself, becoming emotionally intelligent. That is the topic. Becoming emotionally intelligent for the sake of your children and for yourself. Let me share a quick story. Earlier today, a couple of hours ago, maybe 2-3 hours ago, I went on Facebook, and coincidentally, I saw something. Someone shared a story about how yesterday he was coming back from work, and he saw a young man, probably, and a bike man. They were having a heated argument, and he knew that if nothing was done, the argument was going to escalate into throwing punches and all of that. So he had to step in, and he realized that they were fighting over 100 naira. Are you kidding me? So he offered to pay. Maybe he just assumed the man didn't have didn't have extra 100 naira. So he offered to pay, and the man told him, no, I want to teach this bike man a lesson. I have the 100 naira. I'm not going to pay him. I want to teach him a lesson. So he had to tell this man, it's not worth his trouble. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, he said he's a lawyer, that many of the cases in prison, in Kirikiri and the rest of them, they are actually minor cases that escalated from such arguments, and people were there waiting. Emotional intelligence, lack of emotional intelligence. The bike man wasn't able to, the man, let me not even go to the bike man now. The man wasn't able to pause and think, is 100 naira worth all this drama? What if we resort to fighting? What if this man punches me, punches my eye? What if maybe in the process of fighting, how it can be in Lagos? In the process of fighting, someone comes and dips me. My phone is missing. My laptop is broken or something. He wasn't thinking about that. Because of 100 naira, he would have paid so much. It is what we face every day. When we are not emotionally intelligent, we pay. We make regrettable decisions because of lack of emotional intelligence. In parenting, we make regrettable decisions. We take regrettable actions. In friendship, in relationship, in anywhere, we take regrettable actions because we are not emotionally intelligent. We are not able to pause. We are not able to think. We are not able to analyze the situation. I always say to my children, live selfishly. What I mean is, always think of your goals, your big picture, and always know that anything that doesn't align with your goal is a distraction. You are coming back from work. The man was coming back from work for the love of Christ. He was going home, probably to hit his bed after a tiring and exhausting day. And there he was, fighting a bike man. Something that would have landed him in the opposite direction, maybe in the prison or in the police station, or something that would have landed him, giving me a black eye. That was it. That was it, because he wasn't able to stop and think. Maybe he didn't have his goals to preoccupy his mind. Like I said, we see it every day. And at the end of the day, you hear something like, oh, it was the devil's work. I didn't mean to do it this way. And a lot of us have lost relationships because we are not emotionally intelligent. Someone said one time on Facebook, I read, he said, people you are supposed to be collaborating with, you are competing with them. Lack of emotional intelligence. Because when we talk about emotional intelligence, we always want to look at anger. It's not all about anger. There are different emotions. It's not all about anger. And today, what I want you to do is to get your writing materials, because we are going to hear about emotional intelligence like you've not heard it before. I have my writing materials, because one of the things that happens to me is when I'm talking, I get really, I get really inspired. I have my slides here, which I am ready to share. I have my slide there, but sometimes I realize that I may not follow my own scripts, you know. That is how it works with me. So I will need you to take your writing materials. If you don't have your pen, if you don't have your paper, please go get them, and let's dive into emotional intelligence. Now, I was saying, okay, I talk really fast, so you need to pardon me. I'll try to slow it down here. I would like to slow it down and talk like Coach Stella. Okay, so I was saying that when we talk about emotional intelligence, we just don't talk about anger alone. We have a wide range of emotions. Our emotions are the best sum of our behaviors. They are the factors that influence our behaviors. Our emotions influence our behaviors. And guess what? Our emotions are a communication to us. Before I even go there, let's even look at emotions again. Decisions people have made in the past, how emotions have ruined them. I want to come from the Bible angle because I'm a Christian and this is a Christian platform. Let's come from the Bible angle. I'm looking at how we make decisions, how we take actions without thinking, because being emotionally intelligent simply means that you should be able to pause and think and apply take appropriate action. But most times we are not able to pause and think. You know why? Because we have this sense of now, urgencies and emergency. We'll get to that later. Now, when I was preparing for this conference, I was looking at the Bible, and it occurred to me that when Jesus was brought before Pontius Pilate, because when we talk about emotions, we are not just talking about anger. We are a wide range of emotions. And like I said, emotions are a communication. They are messages your brain is sending messages to you. That is the truth about emotions. Your brain is constantly sending messages to you. And they are the emotions we feel. Anger, oh, maybe someone is trespassing, something is happening to my boundary, I'm hurt about something. Sadness, oh, maybe something is missing, I'm not getting it. Hatred, oh my God, I feel so, this person has disappointed me, has hurt me, and there's an intense resentment. Emotions, they are a communication of something. They are messages that our brains are sending to us, that there is something happening around us. Unfortunately, we are not able to pause. If you are able to pause and process that message, if you're able to pause and say, okay, let me even understand this message. Let me understand the roots of this message. Let me understand the possibilities of this message. I was listening to Irene Bangwe in her class with my daughter, and she said decision tree. She was encouraging them to always make a decision tree. And that was the first time I was hearing about decision tree. So if you're able to pause at any time and look at and make a decision tree, we'll realize that we may be feeling this tensed towards this situation, but at the end of the day, there is something we want. What we are going to do, what our mind is telling us to do, what we are having the urgency to do, may not give us what we want at the end of the day. Let me bring it to parenting. Very many times, parents are hurt, they're disappointed, maybe their children did not meet expectations, and they're all angry. When we go out, we start comparing, we start nagging, we start yelling, we start demoralizing them with words. What do we want them to do? We actually want them to shape up because we care about their future. Our intention is for them to succeed. But guess what? That is our intention. But because we are not emotionally intelligent to say, okay, my child did not meet expectations, what am I going to do? The goal is for the child to shape up. But what do? At the end of the day, we now demoralize the child, we break the child's spirit, we trample on the child's self-esteem, and these are vital ingredients for the child to succeed in future. What do you want? The child to succeed, but the approach you are taking does not align with your desire for your child to succeed. Why? Because emotional intelligence was not there. If it was there, you'll be able to pause and say, okay, my child has not met these expectations, so what am I going to do? What is the goal? What is the goal of this expectation? It is this. So how does the child meet the expectation? And then we realize that all those demoralizing and all of that will not help our children meet expectations. So Emotions are a communication of messages to us, messages our brains are passing to us. Let me go back to the Bible. I deviated for too long. So I was looking at Pontius Pilate when Jesus was presented to him, and the people there saying, crucify him, crucify him. Even when because his wife had a dream, and Jesus was innocent, he was trying to he was trying to make sure Jesus was safe. Was trying to, because Jesus was innocent, he was trying to make sure Jesus was safe. So one of the strategy he was using was, okay, he presented Barabbas and Jesus, and the people were saying, Matthew records Barabbas as a notorious criminal, which means he may have been a murderer, he may have been an armed robber, he may have been a fraudster or something. But they said no, because their heart was filled with hatred. They were not able to pause and say, okay, what did this man actually do? Barabbas is a society risk. If we release Barabbas to us, what if he releases Barabbas to us and Barabbas goes back to the society and does what he knows how to do best? What if I'm the victim tomorrow? They were not able to pause and think because of lack of emotional intelligence. I said emotional intelligence is not all about anger. That's hatred. That's hatred coming to play. When you hate someone, you're not able to pause and think. That is it. Another one I always love to share with children and my children is Herod and Herodias and John the Baptist. We know what happened. Another emotion is happiness, joy. You are happy. That emotion, should I say, encompasses you, kind of encapsulates you. You are not, many times people make promises they are not able to fulfill. They have no intention of fulfilling. Why? Because they are happy. It happens in parenting a lot. And guess what happens? At the end of the day, because you make promises you are not able to fulfill day in, day out, your child is not able to trust you. Then you wonder, why are you not able to influence your child? Then you wonder, why is my child not telling me what goes on with my child? Then you wonder a lot of things about your child. Why don't I have a relationship with my child? I'm making effort. It is because one of the reasons is you are not fulfilling your promises. So your child cannot trust you. They cannot hold you accountable for what you're saying. So if you have made promises to your child several times in the past, like we look at these small things, we think, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You tell your child, oh, go and get dressed and follow me. You are going out to your child, so mommy, can I follow you? So okay, fine, go and get dressed. Before your child comes out, you've gone. You think it doesn't matter? Nah. In every aspect of life, there are banks, trust bank, love bank, resilience bank, a lot of them. You are depleting. When it's time for you to withdraw from that trust bank, it's already empty because you never deposited in it. You never made deposit into that trust bank. So the trust your child has for you is empty. So tomorrow you wonder, why is it difficult for you to influence your child? You are telling your child, don't follow these boys because they are bad boys. Your child does not believe you because over the years you have not been believable. And why have you been not believable? Because you allow your emotions to actually influence. You allow your emotions to be in charge of you when you are supposed to be in charge of your emotions. So I've talked about Joseph. Sorry, was it Joseph I talked about? I talked about I talked about Pontius Pilate and Jesus Christ. I talked about Herod and John the Baptist. Emotion of hatred, emotion of, which other one again? I talked about emotion of hatred. I talked about emotion of joy. Now let's go to another strong emotion that is so sabotaging. This emotion has sabotaged a lot of people. Envy. We see how it plays out. Joseph, Cain and Abel. Joseph and the jealous brothers, Cain and Abel. Now, one of the things I always tell my children, when it comes to Cain and Abel, I ask them, now, step back and look at it. Why did Abel find peace with God? Why did Abel find peace with God? That is what Cain would have asked himself. But hey, he did not wait to process his emotions. He just jumped into the emotions, and at the end of the day, he did what he wasn't supposed to do. That is what happens. So emotions are messages our brains send to us, telling us that something is happening around us. So let's go into being emotionally intelligent. Let's go into being emotionally intelligent. Okay, so yes. Now the truth of the matter is emotions are your emotions valid because we feel these things. It's not our fault. It's not really our fault. You see someone who is doing so well. Someone told me some time ago that I was living her life. You know, I found it very initially I thought it was a compliment, but when I observed her attitude towards her, I was like, kidding me, really? And this is me feeling under fulfilled. This is me seeing people and I'm saying, this person is living my life. So you too, I'm feeling I am in my space. I'm trying to grow. I'm living your life. So it is that we always have things. So it is not our fault that we have these emotions. No, because we'll see things. People will upset us, they will offend us, like the man and the bike rider. You will meet events of life. We'll meet events of life. It is why one of the things we need to teach our children is adversity quotient. And one of the ways we can teach them is just to be emotionally intelligent, because the moment is always about emotions, Now, if you don't process and interpret the emotions very well and make sure we appropriate it in such a manner that it aligns with our goals, we are most likely going to do things that will take us way back, away, derail us, take us away from where we actually wanted to go in the first place. So I said, let's talk about being emotionally intelligent. So I'll just look into my slide now. So what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence was coined by psychologists Peter Salovey and Meyer in the year, refers to the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions as well as others. Emotional intelligence, the capacity to manage, to understand your own emotions and manage your emotions. Now, the truth of the matter is, a lot of factors affect our emotions. A lot of factors affect our emotions. Oh, very many factors, both internal, both external, pressure. A lot of things affect our emotions, even programming, the way we're programmed, raised, and all of that come to affect our emotions. But if we are always able to understand them, what we are feeling at the moment, they will not understand the other person. This man is a bike man. You know, he's a bike man. Maybe he bought petrol for 850, you know, or maybe he didn't hear when I told him I was going to pay 400 naira. He didn't hear, or maybe he thought I will pay, or maybe, you know, all the maybes will give excuses. At the end of the day, we'll be able to be in a better place. Now, if Herod had, do you think if Herod had sat down and thought about what he was going to say, had sat down and allowed joy, his happiness, his joy to calm down before making a promise to Herodias, do you think he would have said, ask for anything? Now, let's even say Herodias did not ask for the head of John the Baptist. What if Herodias has asked for the entire kingdom? Give me all the kingdom and become my slave. Would he have easily met that wish? So he wasn't thinking, because he just thought, oh, he wasn't thinking, he was happy. Herodias would not ask from here to here. How did he know that? Because he couldn't pause, he couldn't think. If he had even paused, he would have realized that, Herodias, maybe she has shown signs of this and that in the past, so I should learn to just be a bit mindful. No, he wasn't able to pause and think. So being emotionally intelligent means we are able to understand our own emotions and understand others' emotions. We should realize that at every single time in our lives, as a parent, as an employee, employer, a friend, or anything, we have goals. We have goals, and anything that doesn't align with your goal may not just be it for it. So now the first step to becoming emotionally intelligent, according to me, for this conference, the first step is knowledge. That's the very first step to become emotionally intelligent. And when I mean emotionally intelligent, I mean understanding different emotions: sadness, fear, anger, hatred, guilt, frustration, joy, envy, a lot of them. We've seen a lot. One of the people I fear for the most when it comes to parents are single parents. I always fear for them, because I notice that, especially single moms, I notice that because they always feel guilty, they want to overcompensate for that feeling of guilt, and it's not always nice. When I get to work with single parents, I am almost always like, wishing I had a magic wand. Because of that guilt, sometimes they feel, oh, because they'll have to work double the time, they have to spend so many hours at work so that they can meet ends meet, especially if the other partner, the husband most especially, is not forthcoming. Because of that, they all usually overcompensate them for overcompensate their children. But if they are able to pause and think, they'll realize that there are different ways they can actually do this. Now, this is why I am not just focusing on anger, even though anger is at the top of it all. We'll still go to anger shortly. So let's look at the various emotions. Now, one of the first things I said is, one of the first things I have here on my slide that will help you become emotionally intelligent is knowledge. Knowledge. What knowledge? Knowledge of what the different emotions communicate to you. You need to know what a particular emotion is communicating to you. What do the different emotions communicate? We have sadness. Sadness simply tells you that there is something missing. Something is missing. Sadness tells you something is missing. You have guilt. Guilt tells you that, oh, maybe I have a standard. I'm not meeting my expectations. I'm not meeting my standard. Then you have hatred, dislike, hostility. Maybe someone has done something to you and it's unforgiveness. Then you have anger. Oh, anger communicates that you have boundaries that have been violated. Injustice is being done. Something unfair, or a kind of a perception of threat. There's a threat coming in. That's anger. Then you have joy. Oh, we know what joy communicates: fulfillment, happiness, achievement of goals. Then we have frustrations. You are not satisfied with what's going on. You are not getting results. Frustration. We have envy. Of course, envy is a big one, because parents all the time, I don't want to say envy, because we compare our children all the time. I know very many parents, once their children get results report card, the first thing they want to do is to look at, usually the highest and the lowest. That's the very first thing they want to look at. For a very long time, I did not even notice that particular thing. I just look at the character. That's what I always look at, because I always believe that, see, it's not about, yes, children need to be good academically, because it is when they put effort, they are motivated, that they are good. So you need that motivation to even succeed in the big world later. So they need that motivation. And when they put in the right effort, it's going to reflect in their results. That is it. So they need that right effort. So the result needs to reflect their right effort. So if their results are not good, it may be that they're not putting the right effort. So that is why also we encourage good grades. Now, apart from that, I believe that every single thing anybody wants to do in life, any single thing the person wants to do, there are character traits the person needs to build to be successful at that. I was telling my children the other day, I said, see, when you want to become a medical doctor, for example, or a neurosurgeon, like I have one of my children that is so always thinking about becoming a neurosurgeon. I always say to them that, for example, you want to become a neurosurgeon, you need to pay attention to details. So when we look at character skills, that's one of the things I look at when I pick up results. So I tell them that, see, we have seen cases of doctors, they want to carry out surgery on people, they forget equipment in the person. At the end of the day, if that comes out to light, their certificates are withdrawn. So at the end of the day, what happens to them? They are failed in their careers. That is it, when their certificates are withdrawn and not returned back to them. So we want to look at character skills we are building. But we have very many parents, they don't bother about that character skills. What they are bothering about is, the highest mark in the class is 92. Then they will not even look at the lowest mark, that is 40 something. You are 70 something. Why? And we don't know that. I don't want to see it as envy really, but elements of it. So envy communicates discontent or resentment towards someone who possesses something you desire. Is a signal. Also, that it signals perceived inadequacy or a longing for what others have. And of course, we have fear. Fear, signal that there's threat somewhere or something like that. Now, I've explained to you, I actually have in my slide how you can, some things you can do when you feel these emotions, but I don't want to go into all of that. So I'm willing to share my slide. I'll give my slide to Coach Stella, and she can actually share with you if you reach her. So I'll share my slide. You can read up everything, because I want to focus on only anger and envy, because at the end of the day, they are the two major emotions I see that are actually always sabotaging us as human beings, whether as parents, whether as husbands. They are the angers they are the emotions that are really sabotaging us. So I'll just go practical on envy. Let me tell you how I deal with envy, because envy is an emotion everybody experiences, whether you like it or not, whether you are a saint or not. Everybody just feels, oh, you see something, you just feel, oh, there are people. Today I was looking at Vicky James. I was like, when she was talking about, Vicky James, Nigeria top most fashion designer. She was talking about how she made a particular dress for the AMVCA awards for AMVCA for Toke Makiwa, another Nigeria celebrity. She was talking about painting. The dress was painted, and I was like, wow, wow, wow. I just was wondering, oh my gosh, So, we see these things every day. However, now here is what I do, because there are people that, some people it may just be admiration. Oh, I admire this person. Some people it will just come strongly to you, like, this person, what is this person doing? And this person is doing so much. So what I do for me is, when I see someone that I admire a great deal, before I begin to admire them too much and it becomes envy, I get their picture. I just go online, Google their picture. Almost everybody's images are online these days. I just Google their picture. I look at the characteristics I admire about them. I write it. If I was doing this, my video if I was doing it upstairs, you will see we have something we call inspiration wall. We do it in our academy. I encourage parents to create an inspiration wall for their children. So people that actually inspire us, people who actually want them to see every day, because I was listening to Coach Ebuka yesterday. He was talking about how social media is saturated with people who actually don't want our children. We don't want our children to learn from. We don't want to mirror our children to mirror their lives. So one of the things we do, at least in our way to try to minimize that influence, we have this inspiration wall. It's just a big wall. Anyone that inspires you, you put the picture there. Anyone that inspires you, you put the picture there. What inspired you about the person? What big deal about the person? You actually just put a short write up there. At the end of the day, when they are passing, they'll look at the person. Oh, Venus Williams, yeah, because she did not feel jealous. She did not feel jealous because her younger sister was always winning. She still worked with the family as a team. Inspiration. Oh, Cosmo Maduka, wow, he was nobody, and he's so doing well now. We look at them. Folarusha Lakija, oh, she tried to become an oil well magnet several times. Persistent, she got it. That's inspiration. So what I do when I now see someone whose life is so I admire a great deal, I get the person's picture. I find out how is this person making the success this person is making? How has this person become so successful? Then I just write some of the things there. I put it on my wall. So instead of me to be seeing the person as a threat or envy, I see the person as what is it called? As a motivation, as an inspiration. So that's the practical way I do with envy. Like I said, everyone will feel this. You feel sadness, you feel everything. So one of the things you want to actually do is, like I just shared with you, is this is what I do my own. I make them a motivation, because the truth of the matter is every emotion is good, is bad. If you do not know the purpose of that emotion in your life, you are going to misuse it. That is it. If you don't understand the purpose, what that emotion is going to serve, envy is supposed to serve as an inspiration. Because you long for something someone has. So going to get inspired. How do I get this thing? Just like Cain. Cain, for example, if he has said, okay, why is God pleased with Abel and not pleased with me? Okay, God is pleased with Abel because Abel was generous. Okay, what do I do? Maybe I should make deliberate effort again to be generous so that God can be pleased with me. Inspire him, but he chose not to be inspired. Rather, he chose to just go all out and kill his brother. So that's that about envy. I just gave you my practical tip to handling envy. Sorry. So let me go into anger, the major one. Anger, the disruptive one, the one that has sent many people into jail, the one that has made so many parents batter their children, the one that will always make us say it is devil's work, because at the end of the day, hatred, anger, every other envy, if not well managed, can escalate into even anger. So anger, what do we do when we are angry? Now, the very first thing I want you to understand about anger, to manage your anger, is seeking to understand. You are angry about something. You are angry about something. Seek to understand, because very many times we are angry for what we are angry about is not the way it is. It's not the way it is. Things are not always the way it is. I want to challenge you today. Please, before when something happens, you are angry, just learn to pause, take a break. When you are calmer, go and seek to understand. Ask questions. You will realize that it is not always the way you think it is. I tell you, 80 to 90% of the time, it is not the way you think it is that it is. Whether with your children, whether with your spouse, whether with your friends, anyone around you, things are not always the way. They say assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. It is true. And we always act on our assumption, even with your children. I always say, parents in my community, that we always think our children are out to frustrate us. They are not out to frustrate us. They don't even have our time. They have a lot of things they are thinking of in their small head or in their big head. They have things they are thinking of. They are not out to frustrate us. But because we have the assumption that they are out to frustrate us, we are always attacking. We are always breaking them. They are not out to frustrate us. If we can seek to understand, we'll have a cognitive reframe. We have a different mindset. We'll change our perception. Always seek to understand. It is one of the best things you can do for your emotions. Seeking deliberately to understand situations. Seeking to understand everything. Unfortunately, we are a people that do not seek to understand. And because we don't seek to understand, we jump into conclusion. Please, today I challenge you, always take a deep breath, pause, and always ask. When you are calm, seek to understand. Seek to understand with a genuine intention to understand. Let me share a personal experience with you. I'm an author, by the way. Yes, I was introduced very well. And I've written a couple of books for parents and books for children. So I have this book, these really amazing books, Manners, Poise, and More, for school, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So one time, was it last year or the other year, a parent ordered the books. She actually said she wanted the books for her son's birthday, and her son's birthday was on Monday. So she needed to send the books to the school by Friday, so that the HM will vet the books, because if the books were not vetted, they were not going to be allowed to. The children were not going to be allowed to take the books. Okay, the owner of the school, around the HM, and the owner of the school may not come to school on Monday, so she'll be in school on Friday. So I should make sure the books were in school on Friday. I said, okay. So I went to them. I still was in Lagos. So I actually had someone who my husband uses to send his goods around Nigeria. So he gave the books to the lady. I don't know the lady. I've never met her before. So he gave the books to the lady to send. I spoke with her on the phone. I told her the books were going to Nasarawa. She said, fine, that the books will get to Nasarawa by Wednesday. I said, fantastic. It works for me. Wednesday, by Thursday, she picks them up. On Friday, she presents them. On Monday, she distributes them. Okay. By Wednesday, I called the lady. Ma'am, have the books gotten to Nasarawa? She said, no, she thought I said Abuja. I said, Abuja, ke. Did I mention Abuja? Abuja, Nasarawa. What is the correlation? She promised me I shouldn't worry, that by Thursday, the books will get to Nasarawa. I said, okay, fine. I can work with that still. On Thursday morning, I started calling this lady to remind her, to make sure she actually sent the book, since they were already in Abuja. So she told me it was just a short journey to get to Nasarawa. She don't worry, in no time. I called this lady, called, go from morning, Thursday to night, like 7 p.m. She didn't take my call. So like almost 7 p.m. She didn't take my call. So I concluded in my mind that I know what these people always do. She never sent it to any Abuja in the first place, because they do that a lot. They will tell you they have sent it, they have not sent it, and all of that. I concluded in my mind that this lady did not send my books, because how would I tell her Nasarawa? She was telling me Abuja. It didn't make sense. This lady did not send my book in the first place. That's why she's not taking my call. So I already have made up my mind that, okay, if by that 7 p.m. the other lady in Nasarawa had not, if by 7 p.m. she did not take my call, I'll just return the woman's money, because I don't get strength for fights. That was what I said. I say, fortunately for me, about a few minutes past 7, the woman in Nasarawa called me that she just picked the books she just went to the park, to the logistics company to pick the books. I was wondering, really, I was happy. So I got wondering, if you actually sent the book to Nasarawa, why did she not take my call all through? As in, not taking my call gave me the impression that she didn't send my book, which I was already running with. Guess what? It was the following week, my husband went to the park. He came back and told me that Thursday that I thought the lady did not send my book. The lady was actually she was giving birth to a child. She was bringing forth a life. She was in labor room. That was the day she delivered. So she was in labor room. Now imagine if while in labor pain, she had taken my call and then she had said, she had called the call, I would have gone ranting. You are fake. You are a scam. If you don't send my book, I will do this, I'll do that. Why? Because I wouldn't have sought to understand her. That is it. So at the end of the day, maybe code would have entered my body, I would have felt cold. That is it. Things are not always, whether your child is misbehaving. I always say, parents in my visionary community, that whether your child is misbehaving, many times things are not the way they seem they are. Things are always far from what they seem they are. Unfortunately, because we don't seek to understand, we assume and we react on our assumptions. So if we learn to seek to understand, we realize that things are not always the way they seem they are. Now, that is the very first thing I want you to do. Tell yourself that I will learn to seek to understand. You ask questions. You seek to understand with a mind to actually understand. I say to a parent that, see, if you want to say, okay, I want to understand what my child is going through, what is actually happening, and then before you go there, you have already a preconceived opinion, idea. Then you have planned your response. You go there after your child has explained to you. Your response remains. You did not seek to understand. You went there with a closed mind. You did not open your mind. That is it. So the first thing I want you to do, please, is to always seek to understand. The next thing I want you to learn to master your emotions is empathy. You cannot be emotionally intelligent without empathy. It is not possible. You must. Let me share a story in the Bible with you that I have always thought about myself. That gave me we are Christians and we're supposed to live our life after Jesus. We model Jesus. However, in the Bible, we just keep, when it comes to parenting, flog a child and then throw the rod away and use the rod and all of that. We are raw rod in the Bible. But Jesus Christ is our role model, right? We don't look at how Jesus Christ converted people. We don't look at how Jesus Christ treated misbehaviors. We don't look at it. If we look at it, we'll realize that this tax collector, how did Jesus Christ convert the tax collector? How did he do that? Nah, he did not condemn the tax collector. He showed him love. Then he was able to influence the tax collector. Look at, apart from the issue of the synagogue being messed up, look at every other time Jesus Christ converted people. Nah, he showed them love. Now let me share the story that has always made a lot of sense to me from the Bible, or rather that has always been my pillar for empathy. The story of the prostitute and Jesus Christ. When she was brought to Jesus Christ, what did he say to them? All he did was to evoke empathy in the people. That was what he did. And they all went back. Like he made them reflect. He said to them, let he who has no sin be the first to cast a stone. They all sat back and reflected, looked at their lives. Okay, I may not have seen this particular sin this woman has sinned. I have sinned. So who am I to condemn? Empathy, and they all went back. What is empathy? Ability for you to understand, feel another person's pulse, understand that person. Understand that I read a book, How to Influence People and Win Friends. I was trying to remember if I had thought about this book, I would have probably go back to research to know the particular story. I know that it was a story about, I don't remember the particular story in the book because the book is all about stories. Where about the person actually, I think the military commander, the governor or something, actually wanted the military commander or something to take down another opponent. They had all the advantage, but the person, the military commander, did not. He was disappointed. He wrote a note. He was going to send it to the military commander. But because, like I said, you need to be able to always pause and think, process your emotions before you're able to appropriate it. When he thought, he said to himself, perhaps if I was in this person's shoes, if I was the one that experienced the bloodbath in the war front like he did, if I was the one that was raised the way he was raised, I may have taken the decision he took. So for that, he did not condemn, he did not judge, he just dropped his letter, and that was it. The letter you wanted to send to him, he never sent the letter. That was it. Empathy. If you are able to put ourselves in a person's shoes, for parents, I tell parents that, see, a lot of the things we do are unrealistic. A lot of our expectations are unrealistic. I see parents talk about, oh, if you cook a food, your child doesn't eat that food, you're forcing your child. And I ask parents, dear parents, if you have a food that you don't want to eat, what is the reason that you don't want to eat it? The same thing, we have food every time. It is why we open our fridge, you cook variety of food. If you go to our fridge, we will see soup, we'll see stew, we'll see different types of soups. Why? We want to have variety. But if our children say, oh, they don't want to eat a particular thing we want them to eat, we feel, oh, they don't have somebody say they don't have contentment. Is that we raise thieves? And I wonder, is it because you don't have contentment that you don't like the particular food you want to eat? You don't like the particular food available? Empathy. I wanted to buy a dress for my daughter. I shared this on my Facebook the other day. I wanted to buy a dress for my daughter, and I went to this shop. As soon as I got there, I wore a long dress. All these dresses that are flowing, then you have to use your hand to hold it. That was what I wore. I wore a leggings under. And the woman I met there, she was quite an acquaintance. She said, people that wear leggings under dresses, I wonder how you do that. To me, I can never wear leggings under my dress because it's so inconveniencing. I said, well, if I don't wear leggings under my dress, I feel naked. No, I don't like it at all. I feel naked. And so she brought out some dresses to buy. And I said, whoa, some were very lovely, but I knew my daughter would not like them. And I said, no, my daughter would not like this. And she was like, for what? You are the one that is paying. The daughter has a mouth. How can 10 years old? She was on and on. And at the end of the day, I asked her, I don't get you. You just told me you don't wear leggings. It's inconveniencing to you. Do you know why my daughter also has a valid reason not to like this kind of dresses? She may have a valid reason for the love of Christ. It may be that maybe she's not comfortable with them. It may be that she's someone that wants to be very smart all the time. Then you come and buy a ball dress for her. She feels, no, it's inconveniencing. I want to be smart all the time. So why do we always think we want to force? It is because we are not able to pause. We are not able to consider their position. We are not able to put ourselves in other people's shoes. That was what Jesus Christ evoked with the people. He said to them, if you have no sin, be the first to cast a stone. They may not have been prostitutes like the woman, but if they too had the backgrounds the woman had, if they too had the orientation the woman had, if they too had no models like the children model or mentors like the woman had, if they too had no positive parent or no parent that knew what she was doing or knew what he was doing like the woman had, they too may have ended up like the woman. Because they had a different case, they were judging the woman. So for parents, for everyone, if we learn to put others in our shoes, if we learn empathy, we are going to be able to be emotionally more intelligent. Why? Because you're able to understand people. You understand, okay, parents, I always tell parents, see, sometimes we judge our children. I better go away. This small matter, this small thing, irrelevant thing. You are disturbing me over irrelevant thing. I say, children don't have the big stuff we have. They don't have the cars. They don't have the iPhone 100. They don't have a lot of the things that they don't have their ATM card they want to protect. They don't have all those big things we have. But you see those small things they have all those small toys and things they play with. They are their car keys. They are their big deals. So the way you will feel when you are looking for your car key, you can't find it and you are running late, is the same way your child will feel when your child is looking for his or her toy and they can't find it. Now, if we learn to understand, okay, it is why empathy is not complete without understanding. You not only understand your emotions, you understand the other person's emotions. You ask yourself, okay, what is my child feeling at this time, at this moment? What is that person feeling at this moment? Let's look at the issue of the bike man, for example. If the office guy had thought, what is this bike man feeling? The bike man is feeling cheated. If I am feeling cheated, how do I respond when I'm feeling cheated? That is it. We need to understand how others are feeling. If you understand how the other person is feeling, then you put yourself in that shoes. You ask yourself, okay, if I am feeling that way, how do I respond? How do I like to be treated when I'm feeling this way? It will help us all the time. Empathy. We all need to cultivate that empathy. Now, one of the major factors that actually impact our emotions is, first of all, our belief. Our belief. It is why I say we need to have a cognitive reframe. We need to work on our mindset, on our perception. I'm talking about now factors that impact our emotions. I shared with you only two things you need to pay attention to. I'll share the last one later. I'll wrap up with the last one. Seek to understand all the time, and empathy. Seek to understand and empathy. They are the same thing. Always seek to understand. They don't assume. And then learn to put yourself in the person's shoes. Learn to look at where the person is coming from and where the person is going to. Learn to understand that person. Yes. So now I'm talking about factors that impact. Like I said, this is my slide. I'll share it with Coach Stella, so you can reach her. You join her community, the 360 Connect. Join the 360 Connect. Just reach her, and then she'll give it to you if you're interested in the slide. Because many times I go speaking, people always ask for my slide, so I don't always want to wait for them to ask for my slide. Just give my slide. So any event I've been invited, you know that if you have invited me to speak at your event, I always give you my slide. It's free, So you can reach Coach Stella. And I appreciate her for this, putting this conference together, and ask her for the slide, and she will gladly give you. I'm certain about that. Okay, so factors that actually impact our emotions. The first one is our perception. Our perception. We have been programmed. We have been programmed. We have been programmed. The way we were raised, we have been programmed. All the traumas we went through as children were reprogrammed. Our daily experiences, they are constantly programming us. Why did I believe that the woman did not send my book to Nasarawa? Because every day that's what I experience. I've worked with I've worked with a certain tribe in Nigeria for a very long time, and she happened to be from there. And I was saying to my Igbo people, my Igbo brothers and sisters, I worked with them for a very long time, over 10, 12 years. I was doing business with them. Now, I always say something. I said something on Facebook that Anumabia, I don't know if you are Igbo, you can pronounce it very well for me. Anumabia Osiso. I never knew Anumabia Osiso meant I'll be back in a jiffy or in a flash. I always thought it meant, relax, I'll be back. Because that's what they always tell me. And they will tell me Anumabia Osiso, they will not come back 1 hour, 2 hours. So me, I would just sit there and relax when I had businesses with them. So until I knew what it meant later on. So I had that programming that these people, when they are the ones, especially delivery people, they will tell you they have left, they have not left. Even when they make mistakes, they don't want to own up. That was my programming. But was it right? No. We may have been programmed in certain ways. It doesn't mean it is right in every situation. It is not right in every situation. So one of the very first things we need to do in our parenting, not just in our parenting, when we want to become emotionally intelligent, is to challenge our programming, challenge our perception, challenge the way we view things. If you feel your child is always frustrating you, you are always going to respond to your child like you don't want them to frustrate you. You always want to defend yourself because you feel they are frustrating you. If you see your child as misbehaving, you are always going to attack your child like that, react to them, respond to them like that. Even your spouse, everybody around you, if you see the way we perceive things, it is the way we are going to respond to it. So one of the very first things you want to do is to challenge your emotions. Sit back and ask yourself, what are the things that actually trigger you, whether in your children, in your spouse, in people around you? What are your perceptions about those things? What are your perceptions about those things? Is it valid? Is it valid? When I was in my parenting academy, we had a course recently, emotions mastering course, and I was saying to the parents that, see, one of the reasons why parents were quick to yell, smack, and quick to yell and smack, we are quick to yell, especially, is because we've been programmed to see yelling as a response to children's behavior. We don't care whether it's a misbehavior or it's not a misbehavior. We've been programmed to see yelling as a response, a valid response to their behavior. And where did it come from? I said, in those days, in the olden days, when our forefathers, they were not living in, they had no house. One of the reasons for building house these days is security, protection. You have your house is fenced around, you have your gate is fenced. It's for protection, for security. Not necessarily from protection from your neighbor, but for protection from animals, from things around you, So in those days, our forefathers were neighbors with the wild animals in the bush. So there was no protection, there was no security. So the white animals were always fighting them and devouring them. So because of that, it was a threat to them. Their lives were being threatened. So, the way for us to respond to threat is when you are being attacked, what do you do? Defend yourself. So what they were doing there was to defend themselves. So when they hear a sound coming, the next thing they want to do is to defend themselves, is to shoot back. That was it. So it made sense. So when their children even because at the end of the day, they ended up killing their own before they started growing mentally. They need to part way. They need to protect themselves with horns. So before they started clearing and making all the arrangements for them to be more secure, they were open. It was a porous society, so they were open to constant attack. So even when their children, their little ones, were playing outside, it was understandable. They have to tell their little ones, go inside. The noise from their little ones were always they were also always a threat. Why? Because when the little ones are playing outside now, you will not hear when an animal is approaching. Children can be playful, they can be loud and everything. You will not hear when the animal is approaching. So because of that, the parents, they didn't want the children to play rough or to play loud. They wanted the children to just always be quiet. It is why today they were programmed, and the next generation that came after them, they don't undo the programming. The subsequent generation, they don't undo the programming. Until today, when children are making noise, we are triggered, and we have forgotten that we have evolved. We now have protection. No animals are coming to attack us. We are still triggered till today. So it is why one of the very first things you want to do is you definitely want to reprogram yourself. You want to sit back and look at those things that actually trigger you. What are those things that trigger you in your parenting? What are those things that trigger you in your relationship? Are they really valid? They are not. They are not. My sister and I were talking one day. She was telling me about how sometimes she easily get angry. That, for example, if someone maybe someone asked her to do something for her, or not even that, if someone if someone tries to correct her, she gets triggered. She's not in Nigeria, she's far away in the US. She gets triggered, Sometimes she just look at the person and she just ignores, But later she will not realize, okay, the person was right after all. But that first time is always an attack. I say, well, I expect it to be normal, because for me, I had to unlearn a lot of things. Is the way we were raised, because to us, we're always being corrected. And correction was condemning, was condescending. Correction was judgment, Correction was comparison. Correction was everything but good. Can't you see your mates? Are you daft? Are you dumb? Are you blind? It was correction. It was how it was. So because of that, anyone that is trying to correct you, even if it's for your own good, you are not hearing what the person is saying. You are hearing that thing. You are hearing the way you were corrected before. So it's as if it's the same thing. And then you couldn't fight then, though. You couldn't fight because who born you? You couldn't fight then. But now that you are Lord of yourself, you can fight. And it's like, excuse you, please. So the fact you couldn't fight then, you want to fight it now. So it is why one of the things we want to do, you want to reprogram ourselves. Whether in your relationship with your children, look at the things that actually anger you. Sit back. Are they valid? Most times they are not valid. They are not valid because I know children misbehave. We see children as they always misbehave, but there are so many things that actually make children misbehave. So many things. And one of the ones I wanted to know today is human factor. Human factor. And the best way to address this behavior in children is natural consequence. It's not all this your yelling and all this your shouting or anything. It's natural consequence. It's not impulsive reaction to anger. It's natural consequence. So I said, reevaluate your beliefs, find out what triggers you, what makes you angry. all the time. Look at it. Are they valid? Your child is making noise about. Your child is playing. You're angry. Is age appropriate now? Is age appropriate? Your child is age appropriate. Your child destroyed your thing. Why? Because you put it where your child's hand can reach. Or maybe your child doesn't has the skills yet to manage that thing. So you need to structure your home. So when we react to children's misbehaviors, or sometimes, and let me share something. I realized that one of the things that actually make us as parents, homework time. I've heard parents talk about homework time a great deal. It annoys them. It triggers them. Homework time. I always say to parents, if your child is struggling with homework time or assignment or anything, it's either your child has not been taught well in school, which means your teacher, you need to. When I was in Lagos, because we just moved, and in my children's school, there is no communication book. In Lagos, my children's school, there was something called communication book. You will see me. If you are doing homework and my child is struggling, I just pack and tell the teacher, he is still struggling with this topic. And guess what? Almost all the time I sent that note home, I got a response. We only introduced the topic today. Almost all the time I sent that note home, I got the response. We only introduced the topic today. I wanted to test their level of understanding so far, so that I know how to continue next time. And here you are as a parent, you are beating, you are yelling at a child. I asked parents one day on Facebook, see, how many times have you learned to tie gele? How many times have you learned to tie gele on YouTube? How many times have you learned to apply makeup on YouTube? How far? How market? Yet, you will beat your child. You will yell. How about now? Reevaluate your perception. Reevaluate your perception, really. Reevaluate your belief. Reframe your mindset. So now, another thing that impacts our emotions are we don't take appropriate care of ourselves. We don't care for ourselves enough. Mental health care, and physical health care. We don't care for ourselves enough. These are the two other things that that impact our parenting. If your self-care level is reading 0, or is reading 5/10 or 4/10, then there's every tendency that you are going to be triggered. And when you are triggered, your children are going to hear it. People around you are going to hear it. It is going to affect. If you have not detoxified your mind, if you don't take care of yourself, detoxify your mind is your mental care. If you don't have a routine for self-care, if you don't have a routine for physical, mental care, and what is it called? Physical care, you are always going to be under pressure and you are always going to be angry. Let me share a personal experience before I wrap up. I remember one time back there, my daughter, she's 10 now, she was about 3 or thereabout, and my daughter can be, there are children. I always tell parents, know your child. I have a book, by the way, Understanding Your Child. I have a couple of books. A book, Understanding Your Child, is going to really transform your parenting. Sorry, I didn't mention my books. I didn't ask Coach Stella if it was okay for me to do that. I'm sorry, ma. I didn't ask if it was okay for me to do that, really. So, my daughter was about 3 then. Then, it was on a Saturday. My husband was in the house. He was lying in the bed. I was cooking. I was washing. I had my clothes in the machine washing. I'll come back. It was a manual washing. Manual washing machine. You have to use your hand to remove it. Then you have to use your hand to put it where it is going to rinse and where it's going to spin. All of that. I was cooking and I had a lot of things to do. I didn't have any maid or anybody living with me. And my husband was there. And then my daughter, she's someone that doesn't take a no the first time. I always say that every child is not the same. That was what I was talking about my book. Every child is not the same. I have a son who will not even ask, because in fees you're going to give a no. He just has a mindset that, okay, it may be a no, so he will not want to ask. So I always say that for parenting, we need knowledge. We need knowledge. If you're not parenting with knowledge, I don't know what you are doing. So I have a child who will not ask because in fees you're going to say no. I have the one that will not take a no. So instead of her to take a no, she will come back and rephrase. She will come back and blackmail. She will come back and manipulate. Instead of her to take a no, she will get her way somehow. She can even come and negotiate. So she came to ask for something. I said no. She went back and came back and went. I got so angry. I yelled. I hit and everything. I hit her so hard that it was after that day I told myself that no. Then I have a degree. I studied psychology, and I already told myself I wasn't going to parent the way I was raised. I knew better already. as someone who was, I knew better already with my psychology degree and with my deliberate studying of people around me, because I had been intentional for a very long time. I knew better already. However, because I wasn't emotional intelligent, I just went all out about her. And guess what? My daughter, she was 3 then. She's someone that she has very retentive memory. I'm glad it happened when she was 3, because things that happened when she was, I had my last born when she was 3. She still remembers the color of chairs we had in the house, because I had my child, and before I had my child, we change our living room, we change our curtains, we change our chairs in October. Then I have my son in November. My daughter that was 3 then, she was less than 3, going to 3. Then she still remembers till today the colors. Even I had already forgotten the colors of the curtains and the colors of the chairs. She was the one that brought up the issue when she was about 9 that we used to have orange chair and the other side was green, the other one was blue. I was like, so it's possible this child remembers the way I beat her that day. God save me. And I was also pregnant. I said, God, I told myself, I don't want my children to have this kind of memory at all. Why? Because I was stressed. And then I was expecting my husband to come and help me. And then he wasn't coming to help me. Instead of me to open my mouth and ask, oh, sweet, pick up this thing, do the laundry, or do the cooking, or do the cleaning. I did not ask. I was expecting him to take initiative to ask. And he was seeing me as a superwoman who could handle everything, because I was not complaining. It's like tell parents, tell moms, open your mouth and ask. Don't assume. Always ask. Never assume. There is no place for assumption. Don't assume anything, your child, your spouse, people around you. Don't assume. If you assume, you are going to sabotage yourself a great deal. So pressure, stress, overwhelm, burnout can actually can trigger us, and will become so unintelligent emotionally. So you want to pay attention to your self-care, to your mental care, to your physical care and everything. Pay attention. When you are overwhelmed, you are overwhelmed. Find out how to get things done. Your house chores, how to get them done. You find that social media, anything, what is it that is affecting you mentally? Find a way to fix it. Lastly, finally, one of the things I want to say to wrap up is beware of your emotions. Emotions can make us take decisions that we've talked about it already. We've seen how emotions have made people take decisions that they regret and will blame the devil. Someone said at the end of the devil will say, how was that me? It wasn't me. we always say, devil will say, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I wasn't there. We just need to be in control of our emotions, really. We need to be able to watch our emotions and be able to take empowering decisions. And one thing I want to leave you with is that nothing is an emergency. That is why we always react on emotions, because we see everything as emergency, everything as now. We have this urgency. We need to fix things urgently. No. I tell my children in school, I'm teaching them manners, but when I'm talking about interruption, I tell them that interrupting someone is rude. The only excuse you have for interrupting is when there is an emergency. And when I say emergency, I mean emergency. Like a house is burning. It's an emergency. Someone is going to get hurt. It's an emergency. Apart from those two situations, it is never an emergency. Your child is misbehaving. It is not an emergency. Someone upsets you. It is not an emergency. Nothing is an emergency. It is what I want you to take away from here today, that it is not an emergency. If you want to be in charge of your emotions, know that it is not an emergency. Your child has misbehaved. It is not an emergency. It's not an emergency. You need to even be in a good place, because at that moment your emotions are beclouded. We've seen it. I said when Herod, when the daughter danced so well, He wasn't thinking. He didn't pause right there. Maybe if he had gotten home before he asked the woman to name your price or something, maybe and the woman had named that price, maybe he would have been able to say no. He would have been able to negotiate it. Nobody was there, so nobody will hold him. But it was just him in where everybody was, which means he said it right there on the spot. So it is never, ever an emergency. It is never, ever an emergency. Bear that in mind. Before you open your mouth to make a promise to anyone, to your child, it is never an emergency. If you take a minute and come back, learn to take a minute. I'll think this over. I don't have the answers right now. Can we research it together? Even when you are answering your children, when you are answering them, it is not an emergency. When they come to ask questions, it's not an emergency. When they misbehave, it is not an emergency. When they have an observation they are stating, it's not an emergency. Whether your children or everyone around you, it is never an emergency. It is what I want you to take home today. And there is something I want you to actually do. One thing very practical that will help you be in charge of your emotions. Tell yourself it's not an emergency, and then set alarms, because the thing is, in the heat of the moment, we forget. So what you want to do, take your phone. Everybody has Android phones these days, or smartphones these days, so which can set alarm. Even if it's for 5 minutes, set alarm. Short alarm. Tell yourself every alarm is not an emergency. I'm in charge of my emotions. You can just set alarm. I'm in charge of my emotions. So whenever your alarm rings, goes off, you remember, I'm in charge of my emotions. It keeps you going all day. I'm in charge of my emotions. I'm in charge of my emotions. I'm in charge of my emotions. It keeps you going all day. And I tell parents in my community, what you can do is, you are coming back home from work. You know that, okay, when I get back home, I start nagging already. That is it. I start nagging already. So what you want to do, you know the time you usually get home, right? Set your alarm 5 minutes to the time you get home. So when you get to the door, your alarm goes off, and you see your alarm that, okay, my children are not out to frustrate me, or it's not an emergency, or I'm in charge of your emotions. That alarm reminds you. Then it helps you prepare to respond positively. Now, practice is what they say leads to mastery. The more you practice that it is not an emergency, the more you tell yourself it's not an emergency, the more you tell yourself I'm in charge of my emotions, the more you tell yourself I can wait, you can actually be in charge of your emotions, and you can actually become emotionally intelligent parent or being. Thank you so much, Coach Stella, for having me. I'll stop here right now and I'll take questions.
All right, thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. The comment section has been bubbling. It was on fire. We really appreciate you, Ma. Thank you for the knowledge you just shared with us. So we'll be giving you a few seconds to catch your breath. Have breath. In the meantime, our audience you can type in your questions, and we'll take them as soon as we return from the break.
Okay, it's been an amazing session. So much to learn. Thank you so much, Coach Orubebor, for this time. So many practical. In fact, as she was teaching, I could just relate with practical examples to so many things she was saying. One thing that stood out for me here was when she was talking about self-care. Self-care.
Ma, I can't hear you. We can't hear you, Ma.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Ma. We can hear you.
Okay, I said all through her session, I could relate to so many things that were being said. Can you hear me? I'm hearing
Okay, sorry for that. We're not hearing our host clearly. Okay, so the audience should please type in your comment section. Tell us what you learned. Appreciate the guest speaker. So we'll be taking questions now.
Okay, so can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Coach Stella,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can't.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach Orubebor. Thank you for this session. In fact, as you were teaching, I just could practically relate with so many things you were talking about, especially when you got to self-care. And you say, take care of yourself. Stress, burnout, being overwhelmed, all that can make you not make me, Stella, not to be an intentional, not to be emotionally intelligent. I've seen it play out a few times. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I'm in a session and I'm talking. Bad idea. Go and talk to the mommy wisdom, please. All right, sorry about that. So, when we were talking about being burnout, and I was almost laughing at myself. You know how you enter the hold up and all of that, the fuel you just bought, you're managing this fuel that you didn't even plan to be in a hold up, and then suddenly you find yourself in the hold up. First they catch you first, say this fuel that you're managing now that you have planned for, hold up is going to eat it. Then you now see some, what do they call them, transport drivers just crisscrossing you, that is driving your own jejely. And by the time you are getting home, you're already tired from all that, and then one child now comes and wants to play. I just want something from you, and then you just unleash on the child. Look, get out! Can't you see that I'm very tired? How exactly is that child supposed to know that you bought fuel expensive? How is that child supposed to know that public transport drivers have been crisscrossing you? How is that child supposed to know that you entered hold up if you don't just take time to tell the child, please, mommy is tired, I will need some time to rest, I'll be back with you and I will play with you. Thank you very much, ma. We need to take care of ourselves, so parents. Thank you. Please, do we have questions now? Any questions? Do we have questions from the
Don't have any question.
no question? Okay, I think I'll go ahead and ask my own question. I'll go ahead and ask my own question. So, the question I want to ask,
Thank you so much, Enimien. We really appreciate you. So please, can you give us your final?
can I be heard? Can you still hear me?
Can you hear me, ma? Can you hear me, ma?
I can hear you. I can hear you, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me, ma?
Yes, Mr. Bell, I can hear you.
Okay, so we appreciate you for your time. Please, can you tell us your final words, like your closing remarks? Thank you.
Okay. Like I said, when I said finally, I said, always know that it is never an emergency. No matter what it is never an emergency. And do not assume. We always assume. We always assume our children want to frustrate us. We always assume our children do things deliberately. Even people around us, we always assume all the time. No, it is the lowest form of knowledge. Seeking to understand will help you become emotionally intelligent, learning to put yourself in another person's shoes. And by putting yourself in another person's shoes, you want to look at how that person was nurtured. Where is that person coming from? What are the person's programming? I lived in a compound once. Two men were fighting, and the other man said, I would never do this thing he did. I told him that because you are not him. Do you know how many things that went into him? A lot of things went into raising him. So he's definitely different from you. He's not you. The same way you can never do what he did, is the same way he can never do the things you also do. So we learn to empathize with people. It is one thing that will help us become emotionally intelligent. You see, in Lagos especially, people fighting all the time on the road. No. We learn to empathize with people. Imagine where they are coming from. Then we seek to understand genuinely, because it is never as it seems. And lastly, it is never an emergency. It is never an emergency. The story I shared at the beginning, I got the screenshot. I was going to share with my children, because I always tell them that, see, what will happen? Because I always tell them, okay, what will happen? What next? What next? If the man came down and they were arguing over 100 naira, and he paid the 100 naira to the man and he went away, what would have happened to him? What would have, it wouldn't have made him shorter, it wouldn't have made him taller, it wouldn't have done anything to him. He would just pay the money and go. 100 naira that would not affect him in any way. He would just go. But when we learn to realize that, see, even people when they are fighting, he said this. I said, okay, he said this, he did this. How did it impact you? He is not doing anything to you. It's not affecting you, even as parents, as children. It's what he has said is not affecting you. What he has done is not affecting you. So why are you going to take action that you may regret? So let's always learn that. My final word is, it is never an emergency. It is, except a house is burning, a life is going to get hurt or injured. Your child is entering your child is seeing a well and wants to enter. Your child see a poison and wants to put in his mouth. Your child wants to cross an express road with a load of vehicle. It is not an emergency. So keep your anger. It is never an emergency. And you need to be able to pause and process before you can make a reasonable decision. If you're not able to pause, you are not going to make a decision that you would like.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Welcome,
Thank you so much. Pause and process. So I wanted to, this was a question I was going to ask before she asked for a final one, and I think I still need to ask. I've had people say anger runs in our blood. I've had people say it, that anger runs in their family. Is that true, that anger can be genetical? Is it possible?
Okay.
And someone has said that, and you are not yet, all your family members have not gotten to prison, or nobody has gotten to prison because of that genetic whether disorder now or what. Is it possible for somebody to come out of it when the person already have this perception that it's in the blood, or it's a genetical, or it's in their family?
Okay, like I said, one of the things we need is to challenge our perception, to reframe our mindset. That is the first thing. So the first thing this person wants to do is to reframe the mindset. Oh, it runs in your family. Yes, it can run in family. Of course, anger can run in family. I wrote a practical book for my group the other time, for my academy, called Breaking Parenting Patterns. It can run in family. It's not running because it's genetically, is from blood to blood. Two things can happen. There's something, temperament. You can't, and everybody takes you take your temperament from 6 people: your mom, your dad, your mom's parents, which that's 3 now, your dad's parent, that's 6. So it's possible if your dad is choleric, which are naturally short-tempered, your grandpa is choleric, short-tempered, there's every likelihood that you may take your temperament from there. But hey, you can always get better. You can always choose to challenge that part of you. You can always choose to strengthen your weaknesses. Now, another thing that happens is programming, the way you were nurtured. I said at the beginning that your lifestyle will become your child's standard tomorrow. The way you were nurtured, the way you were raised, how you saw your parents react to issues. It is what I do, what I call freestyle with my children. I sit back and I watch them. I want to know how they react to issues, so that I will know, is there anyone they are learning from me? Yes. Because a sheep, they will say the something of the old sheep, be an apple never falls from the tree, or something like that. So the way your parents reacted to something, they have programmed you, whether we like it or not. Those programming, yes, you are likely going to get it from them. This is why I said you need to first of all. So a person that is saying it runs in our family, it simply means the person is already feeling defeated. There is nothing I can do about it. The person is already feeling defeated. There is nothing I can do about it. But what if the person comes up to say, no, I'm a new person and all things are gone. All those patterns I inherited are not my portion. They are gone. And the person can begin to, a lot of us, there were so many things we picked. One time in my academy, I asked parents, let's reflect and look at our self-sabotaging behaviors. And a parent said she realized that she's not assertive and she wants to raise assertive children. So we gave her a template to become assertive. What do? You're not assertive. She realizes that she's just kind of permissive when it comes to people. She just allows people to kind of let trample. She doesn't want trouble because of that. Okay, what you say. She realizes that, and she realized that her children were tilting towards permissiveness when with their friends. And so she had to step up. And before we ended the year, she was happy with herself. She was happy with the place she was. So if someone can learn to be assertive, then you too can actually learn to manage your anger. At most, you go for therapy. That is it.
Hmm.
I hope I'm
Thank you
answered,
so
man.
much, ma. Exactly. You don't need to make excuses for what you can work on. You don't
Absolutely,
need to
man.
make
Yes.
excuses. Don't tell us
Yes.
that that's being angry and hitting your children and smacking them like arm robbers. It's because it runs in your family. Mm-mm. They're making
No.
excuses for what you can work on. Remember, she said
Yeah.
pause and process.
Yes.
But if you can really, most of the times we yell and even hit our children, it's out of anger, not love. It's not even most times it's not even what they did that is making you react the way you are
Yeah.
reacting. It's another thing that is doing you. Because the same thing you
Yeah.
are smacking them for can actually be said. You can actually have a conversation. I tell people, these
and the
children,
same
yeah, they
and
understand.
the same thing you are and the same thing you are smacking them for. I always give people this example. For example, you are you take your child out for shopping, right? And you are feeling all happy, you have a lot of money. Your child says, buy something for me. You are likely going to buy it for your child without looking back. But
Hmm.
look at another scenario. You are looking like you are tired and you are managing the money you have. And your child says, buy this thing for me. You are likely going to react negatively. So if you look at it, you realize that your child is not why you are responding the way you are responding. You are responding
So
because of you, your frame of mind, what you are going through, and all of that.
thank you very much, Matt. So once again, pause and ponder. Pause and process. Seek to understand why your emotions are what your emotions are at the moment, and then be empathetic. Thank you once again, Ma, for joining us in today's session. Thank you so much, Ma, for giving us your time. Shortly, just before you go, where can we get your books? Where can we get? How do we get
Okay.
your books?
I didn't really talk much about my books here, but my books you can just reach me. For my books, you can reach me. I have pickup points in Abuja, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Osa, in in Delta State, in Benin City. So you can reach me. Then you can reach Costella. She will reach me, and then we'll talk about where to bring them, send them down to you.
All right, okay, and then you can also follow her on her Facebook handle. You see, I've somehow not wanted to pronounce this name because I still don't know how to pronounce. I go for Orubebor.
Oh,
Enimien,
Enimien.
Enimien.
Yes, ma'am.
You see,
Orubebor.
Enimien Orubebor.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow her
Yes,
on
ma'am.
social media also. She has an active page there where you can also learn a lot of things on emotions and parenting. Thank you so much once again, Ma, for being here with us. God bless you for your time and all the things you do. Parents, pause and process. Auntie, uncle, teacher, before you say the boy doesn't want to learn, pause and process what's happening with that child. Our next session is by 5 p.m. That's a session you should not miss for anything. We're talking money as well. That session is all about money, and we are having Coach Tokore, financial coach, come to talk to us about money. Remember, it's the person in the mirror. When you look at your mirror, what is your financial state telling you? That's what we are going to be talking about in the next session by 5 p.m. Please don't miss it. Be there. Once again, before we go, thank you so much for joining us. Please drop your comments, like, share, invite everybody you know to come and be a part of the discussion. Thank you, Christopher, for being our host this afternoon. God bless you. Thank you so much. All right, so over to you as we end the session.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us on this session. Don't forget to join our WhatsApp and Facebook group, and also subscribe on our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. The links will be displayed on the comment section Once again, see you by 5 p.m. for the next session, and please don't miss that for anything. Thank you.